December 2015. It's 20 degrees, it's not raining, the sky is blue, there's green around me. I'm not in England anymore. Oh no. I'm in the Portimão area of Portugal, the southern part of Portugal, in the Algarve to be precise. And I'm here on my Tiger Explorer 1200 by Triumph. Now, I've had this bike for about a month now, and I was going to hold off doing a review on him until I got back to England. I mean, I've done 1,800 miles in the last week on him, and I was going to just ride him back to England, and there I would have thought I'd have had enough experience to do a full review on this bike. But I thought, why wait till I get to England where it's freezing cold, rainy, crap, miserable, when I could do it here on the empty roads, superb roads of Portugal, in this beautiful country, in the sunshine, in December. Absolute no-brainer. So here he is, a 2015 Triumph Tiger Explorer. It's not the XC version, however it does have pretty much all the kit that an XC does, except for the spoked wheels. I didn't want spoked wheels because they're a nightmare to clean. Now, as this is an outgoing model and 2016 has a bit of a facelift, I got quite a good deal on this. I got a £1,200 discount on accessories, which basically meant that I got the protection pack, which included the crash bars, the alloy bash plate, the radiator guard, tank pad, and the performance pack, which includes the Arrow can, the billet alloy foot pegs, and the fog lights. All that basically come pretty much free. All I had to pay for was the hand grips, sorry, not the hand grips, the hand protectors and the heated grips, and I also invested in a gel seat comfort seat. So the bike is pretty fully loaded. I fitted the Givey luggage myself. I've not got it on today because that's not the point of doing a test ride review. Now, I know it's a pretty subjective thing, but to me, I think the Triumph, the big Triumph, is, for my eyes, the best looking out of all the current crop of adventure bikes. It is totally subjective, that, and I know everyone's got their own taste in what a bike should look like, but for me, I think this is a pretty bike. You know, the angles of it, the way that the header pipes are cut backwards, you know, the way that the frame obscures all the cabling and the wiring, and the way that every inch of it is covered in like high quality anodizing and powder coating. I think it's a really lovely bike, with a finished off nice with a single-sided swing arm, which is always a nice thing. Yes, so I bought this bike after considering a couple of alternatives, including the BMW R1200 GS, but this just come in at too much of a deal. It was like £4,000 cheaper than the BMW, and it is by no stretch of anyone's reasoning £4,000 less good. So yeah, so this is pretty much the bike as is. You'll see that he is very dirty at the minute. That's because he's been ridden from Manchester in the UK to here with me on it, with full luggage, and it was a delight of a journey. Absolutely comfy as anything, reasonably economical. It did the whole journey averaging about 50-51 miles per gallon, which isn't bad. It's not cost me too much on fuel. Tank's got a 200-mile range on it, probably a little bit more if you really take your time on it and ride sub 60 miles per hour. You probably get about 220 out of it. But it's a triple, inline triple, which I think is a superb engine. I've had the 1050 speed triple before, and I really like that bike too. It's got a really nice seating position, surprisingly quite a low seat height for such a big bike, and I've got it on its high setting, and I can almost, in fact I can, flat foot it. So it makes you feel like you sat in the bike. The handlebars are quite nice high up, it's a nice sort of reach. I think they could possibly be about another inch back, but it's splitting hairs, but the bars really comfortable, no vibrations through them. And it's just a really nice, you can tell there's just a lot of money got into it. All the fittings are all stainless steel, the metalwork is good, the finish on all the metal's good, it's all powder coated or anodized, the paint's in very, very good. All in all, the finish of the bike is superb. You can't really fault Triumph for the finish of the bikes, because they do seem to I think it might be because they're building bikes to largely be run in Britain, so they've kind of got to be weatherproof and of a good quality, otherwise they just rust to pieces. Yes, but anyway, great bike. The mirrors, excellent. They're very, very still. You don't get any vibration through them, and you can see, you can see your elbows, but you can see what's behind you. And with them both set, you don't have much of a blind spot behind you. The front screen, like all these adventure bikes, I've not found one that does a good screen that keeps it completely, keeps the wind completely off you. Hence why I invested in this Puig little extension piece, which keeps pretty much the rest of what the screen doesn't catch off you. And I think that's just a little nice bit of an add-on. They did an extended screen as an extra, but I think they should just put a big screen on it and then do a small screen as an extra, because most people who buy these bikes, usually quite big people who need a big screen. Anyway, that's just me. But anyway, let's check it out. It's got that delicious triple engine sound, which is that lovely halfway house between a parallel twin torque and a inline 4 smooth power delivery. I'm a big fan of this engine, I must say. The switch gear's all nicely laid out, everything's quite intuitive, although I do occasionally seem to catch my left index finger on the high-low beam settings as I'm reaching across sometimes, and I sometimes won't notice that it's actually on high beam. That's just me. Everything else is pretty good. It's got self-cancelling indicators, which is a real nice feature, because if anyone's ever watched any of my videos, I am constantly leaving my frickin' indicators on. I always have. 3 decades of riding and I still forget to cancel my indicators. The cruise control switch gears on the right, which I'd prefer it to be on the left and the information on the right, because if you're riding it one-handed on the motor, it's easier to switch your speed up and down with your left hand. But I've kind of got used to it now, and it's not that bad. It's just a matter of getting used to this very, very quick action throttle. It's very, very frictionless. Once you're used to it, it's excellent, and you sort of really get into the swing of it. But when you're quite new to it, you find yourself sort of like snatching it every now and again. But I'm used to it, so I like it. So anyway, it's a heavy bike. You're looking at 250 kilograms for this bad boy, or in the region of that. You stick a load of luggage on that and you're talking some serious mass. But Triumph have done a really good job of engineering the bike so that once it's moving, you don't feel it. It just disappears and the bike becomes weightless, like all bikes should do, you know. You should not be able to feel the weight of a bike when it's moving. Now, comparing it to something like the big BMW, it doesn't change direction as quickly as the big BMW. It's just that little extra mass that it's got. So it does steer quite slowly. But on a bike like this, it doesn't feel like a bad thing, because it makes the bike feel smooth and confident. You know, it doesn't waver. It's very planted in the corners, and that extra sort of mass, it gives it a kind of comfort kind of feeling. You feel like you're you're riding a train rather than a bike sometimes, because it does go around corners like it's on rails. Now the 1200 triple engine, it's been tuned to develop all its power quite low down. It's a very, very, very torquey engine. I'll put the torque and power figures on the screen now. And all that nice torque means, you know, you can be in a very high gear and it will pull from nothing. I'm at 2000 RPM in 5th gear, swerving for the doggy, down to 30 kilometers an hour there, and it just pulls. No chugging, no juddering, no hunting or surging. It just pulls. It's beautiful. The low speed fueling's really nice. It allows you to ride in sort of thick city traffic without having to clutch in, without having to feather the clutch, or without having to stir the gearbox. And I think that's what Triumph are aiming for, because when you get on an open highway and open it up, the power sort of feels like it runs out after about 7,000 RPM on this, but by then you're well into the excessive speeds. Oh, this is quite fortuitous. A bit of unmade road. And being an adventure bike, it can take this kind of thing in its stride. Yeah, soaking up the bumps nicely. Now the suspension is it's none of your fancy semi-active suspension on this. If you want that, you're looking at spending another few £1,000s or dollars to get that. Now, yeah, semi-active suspension is a nice feature, I will grant you that, and it is nice to be able to drop your luggage, flick a button and put it back into unloaded mode. On this, I've got to turn a little wheel on the back suspension. You know, I've got to get off and I've got to turn the wheel 5 clicks. Now, getting off and turning a wheel 5 clicks is not, or not having to do that, I should say, is not worth £4,000 UK. To have that convenience, I'm sorry, it's a nice feature, semi-active suspension, and if money isn't an object, then yeah, crack on and go for it. But for me, nah, you don't need it. And this suspension is really good, and I've got it set up quite hard for highway traffic, and it's absolutely doing a perfectly good job on this unmade surface here. I don't think I would want to take it on anything more challenging than this, personally, because I'm not a big off-road rider. But you can stand up on it, it's comfy to stand up on, gives you a nice controlled position with your weight over the bars, so you can have some authority over it. Yeah, very good for fire road, this kind of thing. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Like, as I say, I mean, I've done a bit of mountain biking, or quite a lot of mountain biking, which gives me the sort of basic knowledge, but I have not ridden dirt bikes for, wow, since I was a child. So yeah, so this is actually the first time I've ridden a bike pretty much off-road since I was about 12 years old. It's quite enjoyable. Yeah, one thing the Tiger Explorer doesn't have, or at least on the up to 2012 to 2015 models, is they don't have rider modes. Now, I've already spoken on this topic quite extensively, and I really think that on a road bike you don't need rider modes. I think they're a gimmick of the sort of arms race between bike manufacturers, just to put more and more features on the bikes, just to shift units. Now on the road, the bike should be set up so it runs at its maximum efficiency balanced with performance. And on a track, if you had like a track day bike or a race bike, yeah, I'll have it, because if you turn up for a track day and it's raining, then you will want a mode which is more suitable for rain, which alters throttle mapping, power and traction control and ABS, things like that. I'll have that. But on a road bike, and I have in my arsenal an Aprilia Tuono 2014 which has all the rider modes, and all I ever do with that is I just leave it in its best power mode, its best rider mode, which is track. And every bike that I've test ridden to get to this has had rider modes, and I always find that I find the one I like and I leave it, because what you should be able to do on a bike is ride it. You shouldn't have to change the power settings, the throttle settings, the ABS settings because it's either raining or you want to go a bit faster. You should be able to ride your bike without rider aids. You know, yeah, I'll have traction control, although I don't think it's needed on this bike, and this bike does have traction control, which you can set from high, low and off. If you want to take it off-road, you can turn the traction control off, and the same with the ABS. It's got two settings of ABS and an off, so you can just turn it completely off. And you know, to be able to ride a large capacity motorcycle, you should be able to ride it without rider aids. And they are, I mean, unfortunately they're here to stay, because the 2016 version of this bike is going to get power modes. It's going to get the 3 tiers of spec, the same way that the Tiger 800 has. It's going to have 6 basic variations of it, 3 for the road and 3 for off-road, which I think is a bit of a shame, because it doesn't need it, and obviously it's going to be more expensive because it'll have all the semi-active suspension and all that. And for me, you know, you should be able to ride your bike in all conditions just by controlling your throttle. Got a hitchhiker, get off. You should be able to control your throttle, control your brakes in any situation that you find yourself in. If you have to start relying on rider modes to get you out of trouble, then you can't ride the bike and you have no business riding it. That's just my opinion. Anyway, the one thing it could do with this bike, it could do with just one button that you can press on the fly, which will disable the traction control and disable the ABS, so that if you come to a little stretch of trail like I just found then, you don't have to stop and go through the menus on the controls just to change the traction control and the ABS off, which on this bike is a bit of a faff, because you've got to come to a complete stop, scroll through the menu, go into setup and switch them off manually. It can take you a minute or two to do it. It'd be nice just to have a button that you can press and turns them off. You know, that would be superb. You know, and periodically maybe it'll give you a reminder to switch it back on again, or if you switch the engine off, it switches itself back on again, something like that, so you don't forget about it and spin your back wheel. But as I said earlier, you should be able to control your bike, and if the wheel spins up, you should be able to deal with it. If not, then the bike you're riding is too powerful for you, then go down a couple of cc's. It's no big shame. I've been riding bikes for 30 years and I like to think I've learned how to ride, but so many people pass their test and just go straight into big bikes and find that they have to have all these rider aids and power modes and things like that just to keep them out of trouble. Anyway, la-di-da. I'll get off that particular soapbox, because rider aids and rider modes are they're here to stay, and that's that. There's nothing I can do about it. Like you say, just put it on the one that you like best and leave it on it and learn to ride that mode. What else about this bike? The brakes that are on it, it doesn't have exotic Brembo brakes or anything like that. It just has what appear to be Triumph's own branded calipers on the front, and they are 4-pot calipers. That's two on each side of the caliper, and they stop excellently. There's more than enough braking power for this bike. Yeah, they're not maybe as strong as Brembo that you'll get on things like the BMW, but they stop it perfectly quickly and under control. I've never been riding this bike and thought, oh, I wish it had more brakes. And bearing in mind how heavy it is as well, those brakes are doing a fantastic job. And I really like the back brake as well. The pedal's really nicely positioned, you can get on it quite quick. The ABS is a little sensitive on it, but you know, at the end of the day, you're using your front brake more, so if you're activating the ABS, you've just got to get used to not being so severe with it. And it does get up and go, this bike. It is very quick. But it's very quick in a kind of odd way, because all the power is so low down. It kind of accelerates the same way in which like an express train accelerates. It just surges forward. You don't get like a big neck snapping acceleration, but what you do get is this like momentum that just seems to build and build and build and build, and it surges forward rather than blasts forward. Comparing it to my Aprilia Tuono, that'll jolt your arm straight, it'll throw your neck back, because it's just got lots and lots of explosive power, whereas this, it just surges forward and just builds up that real head of momentum. It's kind of nice, you know. If you wanted something more sporty, or you wanted a sporty bike that you could throw around the mountains and, you know, and pop wheelies and things like that, then probably not the best bike for you. Something like the Multistrada would be a better bet, or the S1000XR, something like that. But for a touring bike, this has got loads of power. It sits on a motorway or a freeway or a highway, whatever we want to call them. Very, very comfortable at very low revs, so it cruises beautifully. And this is where the cruise control here comes in. I mean, I'm not going to activate it on a road like this, but for those people who've never tried cruise control, and one of these people who think that, oh, it's pointless, why would you want cruise control on a bike, it's like putting an ashtray on the bloody thing, well, don't knock it till you've tried it. I have driven or ridden all the way down from Manchester in the UK via some friends, lots of detours on the way to visit people and things, and I've ridden down to the southern tip of Portugal in the Algarve. I've done something like 2,700 kilometres in about 5 days, and no bullshit for about 95% of that time, because I've come pretty much down the motorway toll roads through mainland Europe. I have had my traction control, I've had my cruise control set. I have it set for 70 miles an hour, and it is just really, really so much more comfy, because you're not having to concentrate on what your right hand is doing. You're not having that constant adjustment of the muscles in your right hand to hold the revs and to hold the speed. It just automatically does it, and because it's doing it, it's also running the bike at the most optimum MPG possible as well. And yeah, you can set your hand off and ride with your hand off the bars. You can even ride no-handed if you so desire. But you can put both hands on the bar, ride with cruise control on, but because you're not doing anything other than resting it on the bar, your right hand is it's very restful. Yeah, so cruise control is a good thing, and it's something that it's good that in the advent of fly-by-wire throttles, which a lot of people don't seem to like for some reason, I can't see why, but to have that option on a bike, it's an absolute no-brainer for me, and it is a must. It really is. Any future bike I buy that I'm going to do miles on, although I will intend to keep Richard Parker here for many a year, hopefully, it will have to have cruise control on it. It's an absolute must now. It's superb. So what do I like about the 2015 Triumph Tiger Explorer? Well, I like its comfort and its all-day rideability. I like its powerful triple engine with loads of torque. I like its stylish looks. I like its adequate brakes. I like the fact that it's a shaft drive, so it's very low maintenance. And I do like these Metzeler Torrance tyres that it came with, the dual sport tyres. Let's say I've done thick end of 3,000 miles on them now, and they don't even look to be scrubbed in. There seems to be lots and lots of life in them, so I'm anticipating getting a couple of years use out of them, which will be nice. And what else do I like? Yeah, I like its minimalism, the way it doesn't have rider aids. The traction control's there in the background. You can't play with it on the fly, so just forget about it. I like its fueling, which is excellent. And generally I feel happy owning this bike, I really do. It's a triumph, and I always like to have a triumph in my life. It's one of those things, once you've experienced, you always feel like you should have at least one triumph in your life at some point. They're beautifully made bikes. I like its value. It's a good value bike. I mean, fully as it is now, I spent about 12,400, stick another 700 or 800 on for the luggage. It's still coming in at about £3,500 cheaper than its rival, the BMW R1200 GS Touring Edition. You know, and without all the active suspension and the power modes and the integrated sat navs, things like that, I think the saving that I've made is well worth it. I really do. You know, £3,500, £4,000 is basically a lot of touring fuel, hotels. You know, you can do a lot with that money, is what I'm saying, and there's no lesser bike here. Anything I don't particularly like, it's a heavy bike, and I wish it wasn't quite so heavy, because I nearly dropped it at a fuel station in Badajoz the other day, and I nearly pulled me bloody back out keeping it from falling, which I did, but only because I'm quite a strong bloke. So it'd be nice if it wasn't quite so heavy, but you just learn to live with it. And I wish it come with a bigger standard screen, so you didn't have to put an extender on it. It doesn't come with a hugger on the back wheel, which I've had to put one on by Power Bronze, which I think is pretty much an essential on a dual sport bike. Otherwise you're just going to throw a load of crap all over your rear shock absorber. So yeah, it could do with one of those from the factory. And I put a factory front fender extender on it just to stop the front wheel throwing crap up on the pipes, which is, I don't know why they wouldn't put that on from the factory, but little things like that, that's all. There's nothing major about this bike I don't like. So would I recommend one? Hell yeah. From 2016 though, as I said earlier, they're going to go and follow the 800 model, where there's going to be 3 flavours of on-road, the XR, and 3 flavours of off-road, the XC, going up in price and spec. So I think the price of this bike is going to go up, I do, and it'll be a real shame. And you just know for a fact that a lot of the things that are on this bike now, they're going to take off. Things like the traction control and the cruise control. The base model probably won't have it, but it'll probably come in more expensive than this one is. And you know for a fact that the mid-range and the top range is going to have semi-active suspension on it and full rider mode. So it'll probably be price-wise the same as the BMW, and if that's the case, it will probably lose out, because if push comes to shove, the BMW is a slightly more comfortable bike. It's not better, it's just slightly more comfortable for me when I test rode it, but it's certainly not £4,000 more comfortable. So yeah, someone's behind me. So in a nutshell, if you can get hold of a new one or a second-hand one, I heartily recommend the 2012 to 2015 version of the Triumph Tiger Explorer. It's a winner. Well, I'm going to go and continue on the rest of my vacation. I've already filmed a lot of footage for the journey down, and I'll do one for the return leg, and I'll patch that together when I get back home. I'll probably release this one first because this is a quick and easy review. So anyway, so stay tuned to the VeeFour motovlog channel, and as always people, try and keep your bike shiny side up, eh? Namaste my people, namaste.